Now, sentence is a fundamental unit of language. It expresses a complete thought. It's like a mini story that conveys information and asks a question and makes a request or expresses a emotion or strong emotions, however you like it. Now, the components of sentence should be like the subject, predicate, verb, object, and complement. Then, there's also adverbial phrase and the sentence structure itself. Now, when we say the subject, that's the who or what the sentence is about. Because the sentence always talked about the subject. It is what we are talking about. That is the subject. For example, the dog barked. The dog there is the subject. Now, when we say the predicate, it's the part of the sentence that tells something about the subject. It includes the verb and any related words. When we say the dog bark loudly is the predicate. It talks about the dog. It talks about more about the subject. When we say verb, it's the action or the state of being. It's like the predicate, but it's simply an action word. Example, the dog bark. The bark there is the verb. It is what the subject is doing. Down the object there, it's the receiver of the action. For example, the dog chased the ball. Chased is the verb. Dog is the subject. The ball is the object. It is the receiver of the action because the one being chased there is the ball. Very good. Now, when we say complement, a word or group of words that complete the meaning of a subject, an object, or a verb. For example, she is a doctor. There, you can say that the doctor completes the statement about the girl. That is complement. It complements about the object, or either complements about the verb, or complements about the object. Now, when we say adverbial, we have here that the modifier of the verb, adjective, or another adverb that expresses time, place, manner, cause, etc. These somewhat or often ends with ly. Quickly, really, definitely, loudly. So, for example, he runs quickly. There, the quickly talks about of course, it modifies the noun or the verb or the action word there. He runs quickly, meaning the boy runs quickly. That is an adverbial, okay? Good day, everyone. So today we'll be learning another knowledge. And today, we're going to delve deeper with the sentences. What is sentences? So as what I have said earlier, sentences expresses a complete thought. Now, there are two classifications of sentences. We have the sentences according to structure and sentences according to purpose or function. When we say according to structure, these sentences vary according to the number of clauses or the clauses used or present in the sentence. And when we say purpose or function, it talks about how the sentence is to be used or what is the purpose of the sentence. So now let's delve deeper to the classification of sentences. So as what I have mentioned earlier, there are two classification of sentences. We have the sentences according to structure and sentences according to function or purpose. Now, for the sentences according to structure, these sentences are identified based on how many clauses, or what kind of clauses used in that particular sentence. So for sentences according to structure, we have the simple sentences or the simple sentence, compound sentence, complex sentence, and a combination of compound complex sentence. So the differences between these four is that when we talk about simple sentence, it consists of a single independent clause that's typically with a subject and a verb. Again, single independent clause with subject and a verb. Okay? And now, when we talked about compound sentence, it comprises two or more independent clause that is joined by coordinating conjunctions such as and, but, or. Now, when we say complex sentences, this complicates things because it consists one independent clause and at least one dependent clause. And then, the dependent clause here cannot stand alone as a complete sentence. For example, she is going to school today because it's not raining. Because it's not raining there, that's the dependent clause. So it's a dependent to the independent clause. It cannot stand alone on its own. That's what makes it complex sentence. Now, when we say compound complex sentence, a combination of compound and complex, it's like a combination of elements of both a compound and complex sentences. So, when we say compound complex, the insides or the elements inside that sentence could vary. Meaning, the dependent clause could stand on its own. And the independent clause could also stand on its own. That's what makes it compound complex sentence. Okay? Now, when we talked about the types of sentences according to function, we have the declarative sentence, the interrogative sentence, the imperative sentence, and the exclamatory sentence. When we say declarative sentence, these asserts or these makes a statement or expresses an opinion. Like when I say, Win is a beautiful girl. That declares, that states an opinion, that expresses a statement, okay? That is assertive or declarative sentence. Now, for interrogative sentence, interrogate, from the word interrogate, it asks a question to obtain information. For example, where do you live? How do you do that? Where you gonna go after school? What time do you wanna go or wanna eat? This specific question, particularly the WH question, if you're familiar with that, these ask a question to obtain specific information. These are under interrogative sentence. Now, we have imperative sentence. If you're really familiar with command, instruction, request, those things belong to imperative sentences. When we say imperative sentences, it commands you to do something. For example, your mother is telling you to go pick the trash in your room. That is a command. That's not just stating or expressing an opinion. That is declaring an instruction. That is commanding. That belongs to imperative sentence. For example, warning signs. Warning signs are imperative sentences. For example, don't drive the whole way. That's not just making a statement or expressing an opinion. That is commanding you. That is instructing you. That belongs to imperative sentence. When we say exclamatory sentence, it conveys a strong emotion or excitement. It often ends with an exclamation point. So when we say, "Oh my God, my crush is here," that is exclamatory sentence. When you're afraid, you say, "Oh, that is exclamatory sentence." Everything that ends with exclamation or often ends with an exclamation mark, that is an exclamatory sentence. To better understand the lesson or the topic discussed or the content of this discussion, I have prepared or extracted a video presentation from YouTube, however you want to pronounce it. And I tend to make it more relatable and more appealing to everyone so that no one in the class would feel sleepy and tired and lethargic. So, brace yourselves because I am gonna be presenting the extracted videos from YouTube.